joined here with the Hobby Grotto. Hello, Hobby Grotto. How are you?
Hello, this is Alex. I am from the Hobby Grotto, and I'm very excited to be talking about this White Dwarf. This is my first and favorite White Dwarf. I keep it on my coffee table, and I regularly flip through it. It's falling apart, but it's a good one.
Mate, it's got a brilliant cover because this is, of course, the time when fifth edition Magic was released for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. So
It was, and that's like really special to me because I started fantasy at the end of fourth edition, but just at the end. And so my first kind of big box was fifth edition, and then also fifth edition Magic. So all the artwork, particularly like the Bretonian artwork as well, and anything from that era is just so nostalgic to me. I love it.
awesome. And we've got some wonderful looking Glade Riders taking on some was it wraiths on carrions?
Yeah,
Yeah, carrion.
those were really cool. I forgot about those old carrion models with
Oh, mate, they're
the little
brilliant.
race sitting on top. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Look at those the 40k models with the green bases.
Yep, love that. Yep, you can only play 40k second edition with green goblin green bases, mate. Sorry. So
Absolutely love it.
yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I love
Oh,
all that
so good.
terrain too. The terrain's just amazing.
Yeah, it's like, there was all that kind of terrain from that era that just became really classic because you saw it so much in all
Yeah.
the publications.
Yep.
And yeah, just like there was the 40k ones and the fantasy ones. I remember that there was that high off tower. That one's always in my mind.
Oh yeah.
But there are so many good ones.
You know you can 3D print that thing now. I don't know if you've seen.
It's a what an amazing age that we can get all this stuff back now, right?
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, that's amazing what people are doing now with stuff like that, bringing it back in some form or shape. But here we go. Here's the editorial team, so you can see some very familiar names here, like Jake Thornton, of course, Adrian Wood,
Yep.
uh, and Thomas Pirinen, among
These are the
others.
legends right here. Look at these guys.
Yeah, we've got Tim Squig, mate. He's an Aussie, that guy.
You know, for me, like a lot of my White Dwarf era was like the nostalgic part is when Dave Taylor was the editor, when they had the
Yeah.
Australian team. You would remember that as well.
Yeah.
So this is, I guess, a bit before that. I wasn't sure when that actually happened, when they had the Australian White Dwarf. Uh,
Yeah, I'm not sure
but
either, but I'm sure it's before this though, isn't it? I'm pretty
was
sure.
this was Jake before Fat Bloke?
Yes, yeah, Jake.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's when the
Paul Sawyer, yeah, because there was that whole era with him as well. I remember I was actually he came to Sydney. There was a time when he came to Sydney and he went to the Games Workshop there. I remember that it was something to do with something, but that was definitely, I think, in the Australian era, the White Dwarf.
right.
Look at that art. Look at that dwarf there.
Yeah, like that's classic artwork from the great man, who I keep
Yep.
forgetting his name. Actually, I don't know why, but who was it again? Oh, I
That
forgot.
artwork really makes me think of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, and he was the main contributor for that as well. Wayne England, and I
Yes,
punch myself
yes.
in the balls right now for forgetting his name again. But I did it the other day as well. But yeah, the great and late Wayne England. Yeah, he done some
Yep.
amazing artwork for like, like Warhammer Quest especially, and like I say, Blood Bowl. So
It's
yeah,
a really cool style, like he's always got that.
yeah,
I don't know how to describe it, but they've always got those like noses like that, and
yeah,
it's like there's almost like a harshness to it, but it's still kind of comical. I don't know how to describe it, but it's so unique. I think it's very cool.
and I think that's when you really know a true artist when they have like they've developed and honed this like unique like art presence that when you look
Yeah,
at something they're done, you can just say, oh well, that's a Wayne art, Wayne England art piece, and
100%. Yeah.
find his artwork. That's for sure. So we've got some great Warhammer Fantasy articles. We're going to see like a big battle report, the Sword and the Shield between Rick Priestley and Nigel Stillman, which would be a classic, I'm sure.
Oh, just I think of all the people that could be doing a battle report, they're just two great choices.
Yeah.
They're kind of, I guess, different in terms of their philosophy, but just greats of the game,
Yep.
definitely.
Absolutely, mate. And this is when
Look at the '90s colors, man.
yeah. Oh, mate, you can't beat it. It's brilliant. But yeah, it looks like they're building a big 40k. This is epic 40k. So this is the this superseded the Epic Space Marine game.
Yep.
Controversially with their rectangle bases. Did you ever get to play that
Yes.
mate, at all, Alex? Did you get to play 40k?
I remember, so I was always more into fantasy than 40k. I did play 40k at the time, and I did have some epic models. I never really kind of got around to a lot of the offshoot games. I did do a video recently on my channel where I painted some epic stuff. I had a little orc battle wagon and a rhino. And it really kind of took me back. So now I might have to kind of paint more of them. I love the small scale, honestly. Like I love War Master as a game. I just think it's so cool playing in that small scale. And I hope it catches on because I feel like there's a lot more movement about it these days with 3D printing and like I see a lot of people making videos about it and stuff like that. So that would be really cool because it's a cool scale.
Yeah, it is good, mate. Yeah, you should really get onto it. If you like War Master, I'm pretty sure you're gonna like Epic as well.
Yeah, definitely. I just wish I had more people to play War Master with.
I think that's the issue with a lot of these games, whether it be Warhammer Fantasy 4th or 5th or whatever it might be. It's going to be just finding people to play with because they're
100%.
hotness and that kind of thing, which is fair enough. Yeah, now we'll have to get some links for your channel then. I didn't realize you had actually had a YouTube channel, so we need to get links for that so people can check out your
Of course, yeah.
related articles, mate. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. Look at these guys.
Shout out the Horn Rat. You got an award. How cool is that?
Man, so good. Look at the graphics.
Oh, brilliant, mate. It's a brilliant game. Way ahead of its time. Honestly,
I wish I had an old computer to play all these old games because that's the problem. These days they just don't like run anymore.
Yep, that's it. You basically do need like Windows XP or something like that to run all.
Yeah,
now.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you ever play second edition 40k at all, mate?
So that was when I was mainly into fantasy. I kind of got on board with 40k around third edition. But that image there is awesome and nostalgic because I remember the first time I actually went into a Games Workshop, the intro game they did was 40k, and it was Space Marines. It was the contents of that box. And thinking back to it now, it's so hilarious because it's like you thought when you were doing it, oh, I'm going to win. You were playing the Space Marines, obviously, as a little kid. And now I think back to it and they just had like some Gretchen and it's like, what an unfair battle, really.
But you had the 2D card cut out of a Dreadnought. That's the thing.
They should do that more often these days. I like that idea of having the card version of stuff and then you can replace it in time. It's just, I don't know, something about it. It's very old school.
Yeah, I saw someone on Facebook.
Fourth edition had it.
Yeah, fourth edition had it, and this had it because it's from the same era. But I saw someone print out like all the contents of Warhammer Quest in cardboard. Like,
dude, yes.
And
how good was that? I was about to mention they should have done that for the new because I've got the new Cursed City. I haven't got the expansion, but I thought that would be cool if they just had cardboard versions. If they're not going to have the miniatures included, that'd be a bit of fun.
It's kind of like playing. It's kind of like playing on Tabletop Simulator, but in 3D. It's kind of like because
exactly
Simulator, you got 2D cutouts of the miniatures anyway, so it's just like that. But you're just playing.
Look, it can't hurt. You're going to upgrade eventually, right? If you get into it. So yeah, right, but look at all that stuff.
So we've got all this. Yeah, we've got the contents now of the 5th edition box set of Warhammer Fantasy Magic, which I'm sure people are very, very familiar with.
Very, so many cards.
Yeah, brilliant. It's awesome. So if you're lucky enough to still have your copy or to pick up a second-hand copy, there are still them around. I know some people sort of dismay and feeling that they'll never ever get a set, but it's not the case. I'm sure a lot of people like myself and other people that I've seen have picked up a full set, like still in shrink and still on card stock and everything.
So good.
Yeah, so they're
and then you're punching them out like that. Just that nostalgia of punching out all the cards.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So good. Look at that more classic artwork. Here's Games Workshop Melbourne, of course.
Yeah, it is too, isn't it? Yep. Oh, near Maya. There you go. But yeah, who can't forget those days of in the stores when you had all the great tables set up playing Warhammer Fantasy and 40k second edition.
It was an awesome time. I did actually I worked at Games Workshop Sydney
Oh,
for a couple of years in the 2000s
yeah.
when I was a teenager, running games, all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. That I still feel like that was my favorite job I ever had when I think back to it. We just used to just always have fun there.
Nice, mate. That's great. Awesome hobby memories there. We've got great old Andy Chambers.
Look at that. See, this is something that I loved about the old White Dwarfs was, and obviously before Instagram and everything like that, this was the opportunity to see other people's stuff, and other people's painting and whatnot. And I also particularly like this stuff where you would see other people's, campaigns and their ideas, and even like that shot of seeing like, his little setup there, he's making things. I love that insight into, other people's hobby. So
Yeah.
even though I wasn't into 40K, I would read all this and I would just lap this up. You know what I mean? Like it's just look at there's like the map of the battle and it's so good.
Very cool.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. So we hope to hear more from Andy at some point on the podcast in the future.
Yes.
I won't divulge exactly what it will be, but look forward to that. But it will be 40K.
I love that when you get to hear some of these legends just having a chat. It's always very, very interesting. I think
Yeah.
because we kind of grew up. You'd see their photos in White Dwarf and stuff like that. So they were kind of like the legends of the hobby. So
Absolutely, mate. Um,
we're getting into something very exciting for me here.
yeah.
Bretonians are probably my favorite fantasy army.
All right.
I've got a long-term project where I'm just trying to paint now to my kind of current painting standards a new Bretonian army. And I've painted about 3 knights and about 5 bowmen in probably about a year because I'm spending so much time on it. But I'll get there eventually. But I love the Bretonians so much, and I love these old men-at-arms miniatures. They're very expensive now to get. I actually use the Perry Agincourt miniatures at the moment in my Bretonian army. But yeah, so good. Look at these.
Yeah, these are brilliant, mate. And with more iconic terrain there from Warhammer Fantasy as well.
Yep. So good. It's just this like, I don't know, just the greenery of it all, it was just a particular era. Not to go on about the Goblin Green bases, but like it's something about it. It just, the buildings and everything, it was just these kind of rolling green hills. It was just like a nice, pleasant place,
It was. It was a wonderful part of wherever it was in the old world they were centering on. But yeah, it seemed very lush and green and very fertile.
Yeah.
We're just soaking it with blood from various goblins and Skaven and what have you. But
yeah, totally. Yeah.
and here's a
Look
man.
at this.
Here's a man who knows his Bretonian stuff. That's Nigel Stillman.
Here is a man, and there's that hilarious. Like I always say it posted in groups. I sometimes post in the Facebook groups. It's like Nigel Stillman's rules of kind of Warhammer, and do you know what I'm talking about? And it's like all he's like so kind of like fair, and he's like never try and like kind of min max and all that kind of stuff. And those rules that he plays with, I love those rules. I kind of try and abide by those rules as well. Like I'm not really an overly competitive gamer, but this is all some tactics and whatnot for the Lance head, which disappeared obviously after 5th edition. For better or for worse, I kind of liked those unique little things that made Bretonians kind of cool.
Yeah, I really like the pizza wedged, formations of the archers and the
yeah.
I mean, I think that's very unique to Warhammer. So
very cool, yeah. And it also was like kind of a way, I guess, to give them a bit more of a benefit because they're supposed to be these kind of highly skilled, longbowmen. You get more, you can kind of shoot with more when you have them in that formation. It's kind of take into account like the back rank firing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I didn't really like as much the 6th edition version of Bretonians because I kind of grew up really with a lot of like King Arthur and stuff like that. And I really liked the chivalry version, I guess you'd say, of Bretonians, where they were like, it was all nice and everything was great. And then, I don't know, they were kind of like just peasants in 6th edition, the bowmen stuff, instead of like these long bowmen. And I didn't really like the 6th edition version of Bretonians as much.
Yeah, I've heard about
And
that.
I collect the 5th edition version of the miniatures. I like the 5th edition version of the miniatures better as well.
Right. Yeah, I've heard about that big transition when they went went to grim dark in sixth, and
Yeah.
all changed.
I do love 6th edition, you know. I think 6th
Yeah.
edition was probably my most played fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But 5th edition is probably still my favorite. I do love Nurgle as well, so it's good that we're onto the Plague Marines here.
Yeah, got a bit of John Blanche artistry here.
Brilliant.
Plague Marines and a bit of Mark Gibbons too. But yeah, it looks like Andy's running through the article here about how to play your Plague Marines in Warhammer 40k Second Edition on square bases of all things too, which is a good
That
idea.
was always fun, right? You know, the demons there on the square bases.
Yeah, yeah, because it makes sense. You can play them in fantasy and 40k too, so it makes sense.
I still love that about demons, and I never have collected a demon army. And I'm always like, I should just collect a demon army so then I have an army that I can play in fantasy and 40k. But I don't know, I just never got around to that.
Because I'm just thinking now they based all the Tyranids, like the big Tyranids, on square bases, and the Dreadnoughts on square bases. So it wasn't just the lesser demons.
I had a I had a Crimson Fist army in third. It was like probably 3rd edition going into 4th edition 40k, and my dreadnought was on a square base that I just made myself because there was no base big enough for me to find that was like the right proportion. So it was just like a piece of wood, but square, so rectangular.
Yep.
I love this as well. This the contents of the 5th edition boxes, you know, in these battle reports.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it looks like this is just the contents of the box, isn't it? Like Thomas is
like
a little scenario.
They've added, I guess, like the kind of command units and stuff that you didn't models that you didn't get in the plastics. But
yep,
looks pretty. Again, man, the battle reports from this era, like with the illustrations of the map and stuff, it was always kind of the same. That's very nostalgic to me as well. Like, just so good, these battle reports. I think they're one of my favorite things. Even though I've never been like a big gamer, I was always more of a painter. I love the battle reports. They're White Dwarf.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so we've got a couple of characters here.
Yeah.
A couple of characters that are just from the box set.
Yeah, it's just I love that. It's just the most basic Saurus. Like, just that's the picture. And same as the Bretonnian, just like a basic Knight of the Realm. I love that.
This guy's called Marcel, so there you go.
That's it. Well, they're all, you know, the thing I love about Bretonnians is they're all these knights, they're all like their own characters. They've all got like lands and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And so they're all like these individual characters. So even when you lose one knight in battle, it's a travesty. You know what I mean? It's very upsetting to lose even one. And they do die. You know, when you're fighting like you're coming up against bolt throwers or something like that, you know.
Very cool. So there you go. So once you get your box set, you can play this scenario easily. So we might have to do that at some point. Give that a go.
So cool. Look at that.
Yeah, and they've got Space Hulk 2nd edition.
Space Hulk. Yep. I never played Space Hulk. I have Space Crusade, which I've been thinking about maybe restoring. But cool. Never. I always loved the idea of Space Hulk, but again, I was not as much into the 40k stuff.
Yeah. Now, I think this is an article about Necromunda. I think.
Yes. This is again. See, Necromunda, I didn't really play at this time, of course. But I remember this article. I've read this White Dwarf so many times. I'm like, I know about these Spirers in Necromunda. That's in my lore base because of this article. But very cool. Again, the green bases in Necromunda. I feel like probably this is the most inappropriate use of green bases. Necromunda.
I think Andy Chambers would agree with you there, mate. But yeah, I'm still going to base mine goblin green bases.
You got to.
Got to do it.
Look, I've got to say, I have so my Bretonnian army that I'm painting. They're not on goblin green bases. They're on like the black rim bases, but with like, you know, the kind of 6th edition kind of top with like sand and like static flock and stuff like that. But when I paint older stuff, you know, more kind of 3rd edition, 4th edition stuff, when I don't paint it on a green base, I feel like it's incomplete when I look at it at the end, and it kind of upsets me internally. I don't know why, and I know some people are like really anti the goblin green base, but it's like a part of the era for me, so it's like a part of the framing of the miniature, I think.
Yep, absolutely. We've got some wonderful historic pictures here of Games Day 96 with a massive Bretonian display here.
Look at that.
Massive diorama. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Unbelievable.
This was really cool. I don't know when they stopped Games Day, but I remember going to some of the Games Days in Sydney, and it was just such an event. And I remember there was a period where they kind of then transitioned into Golden Demon being online or something like that, or in the White Dwarf. So, but this was the good old days.
Oh, there you go. You got like a 50 tonner, which is like the caster for the plastic miniatures.
How good is that? That's just like cool miniature science information just popped in there as well,
Wow.
but written in like an orky way, just for added ridiculousness. Oh, it's so good. Look at it. Oh, I'll not go in there, said the old mech boy. It's ridiculous, but it's amazing. I love it.
Then we've got Treadheads, an article about tanks. If you like your tanks, I'm not a Treadhead. I don't think Alex is either.
I am not a treadhead. I definitely not. I did have a Imperial Guard army, okay, but it was based on Gaunt's Ghost, so it was at the time of the Catachan kind of guerrilla army where you didn't really have tanks.
Yep.
And I went to go in a tournament and I needed some tanks, so I remember I painted a couple of tanks in my time, but never really been too big into them. But I got to say, painting them in the epic scale, very nice.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like back in the day, that those guys had to paint it by hand. Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys probably had an airbrush, but like the most common person would not have an airbrush, and they'd have to paint everything by hand.
Exactly.
I mean,
I particularly like Ali Morrison's tanks here. It was, I know, like, think about it. It was just a totally different era. Like,
Yep.
that Games Workshop tank brush. Do you remember it was called the tank brush? That was one of my most used brushes for all kinds of dry brushing and stuff. But you needed the tank brush, man.
So we've got the grand.
I love this. I love this article so much. This is one of my favorite articles in the whole White Dwarf.
Cool.
Just because I love this idea of someone going to a tournament and then just like these days you would just watch a YouTube video about it, right? Or it'd be like streamed or you know what I mean? But just this was such a little kind of behind the curtain for someone young like me at the time, which was just very cool.
Yeah. So the Dark Elves won the champion. Dirty Dark Elf.
Very, very cool. And then even the Necromunda there. Warhammer 40k, Necromunda. They were the important things at the time.
Mr. James Brown. He came back to win with his Van Zar. I don't know. James Brown was a fan of Necromunda. But there you go.
Look, it attracts a lot of different people.
It does.
Look at that picture of them all. Love it. So cool.
So there's some Q&As here for various different 40k related questions.
Yep.
We've got our...
Of course, because I read everything in this White Dwarf, I read it even though it had nothing to do with me. Answered no questions for me. I read it anyway.
I'm glad to hear you, Alex. You're a bit of a cover-to-cover guy. That's good, mate. Holding it all in, mate. That's it.
I think particularly because this White Dwarf has a lot of Bretonian stuff for me, it was just really like a very well-tread White Dwarf. These models here are probably in my all-time favorite Bretonian models. I do not have them. It upsets me greatly.
Wow.
I will get them eventually when I find a good price for them. But this is what Bretonia is all about to me. I love these models.
Yeah, these are beautiful. Yeah, absolutely beautiful models.
Absolutely amazing. I do have one of the 6th edition monks, the plastic ones.
Oh, right.
But, oh, so good.
So
look at that artwork as well.
Yeah. So it looks like Bertrand the Brigand is getting his rules there from the Lawmaster there.
And I love the way like they were just a complete rip of like King Arthur and Robin Hood, but like it didn't matter, it was fine in my opinion. We wanted to use those things in Warhammer, so it was good that they did that.
Oh yeah, what any chance the guys could get to infuse like history in the Warhammer world, they would just go for it because that's what they all did anyway. That's where their passions lied, and they're all archaeologists, they're all historians. They love playing their historical gaming. So
I appreciate that side of it. You know what I mean? It's like I do like New Warhammer, and I do like Age of Sigma for what it is, with the way you can kind of do whatever you want. But I also really do appreciate the old Warhammer, where it had that kind of tie to history, and stuff that you could kind of relate to. I think that is really kind of where the passion lies to me, because I love a lot of history stuff as well. So just seeing that connection between stuff,
yeah,
was really cool. I think got some more tanks now.
yeah. So
So more tanks.
just gonna flip through these pages here for 40k.
Yep.
We both maybe don't
We
know
don't need to talk.
this
There's some R bytes there, I
section
can see.
here, but for people who are treadheads and love their tanks and that kind of thing for 40k.
Look at that, Games Workshop Japan.
Oh, I missed that one.
We've got Melbourne and Japan in this issue.
Oh, okay, there we go. Because it's all part of the Oceanic Division or something, wasn't it? They had
Yes.
they were looking for career. That's right, they're looking for career opportunities for people in Japan. If you could speak Japanese and you're in Australia, you had a good chance of working over there.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
Yeah, hobby-based Yellow Submarine was basic. They're still around, the Yellow Submarine.
They're still around.
Yeah, and they still sell like all kinds of things.
Do they have actual Games Workshop stores there still?
Oh yeah, they're just called Warhammer now.
Sweet.
They did close them for a while. Everything got shut down, and then they reopened
Yep.
it at some point and call them Warhammer.
That's cool that they're still going, because I remember like there was kind of, I guess, a big expansion in the 90s. And I feel like particularly around like Australia, I think some of those stores are no longer there. You know what I mean? Like it was a big kind of push. So I don't know how it was in the rest of the world, but I remember for us growing up, it was like Australia had a lot of stores, not as many as the UK, obviously, but then you would see in the White Dwarf, America would have like only one or two stores, and I feel like they're kind of maybe dominating now. So it's certainly changed.
Yeah, so this is about Warhammer Quest, and looks like some kind of scenario there for it, dealing with Slanesh.
Yeah, it came with some extra tiles and stuff. Warhammer Quest, the 95 version, is another game that I played back in the day, and it's like I would love now to get an unopened, sealed copy of that now, because I don't have that anymore, unfortunately. So that's another thing that I would love to get.
You've got to spare $1,000 or something like that.
Too much, man. I have on eBay a number of searches and stuff that I'm watching, and there's always in my watch list, there's always a couple of hero quests and a couple of Warhammer quests, and sometimes I feel like I'm going to bite the bullet and buy one of them, a sealed one, but man, I don't know. I just bought Cursed City, so I really should panel that first.
Yeah, probably do that first, mate. Yeah, that's it. Good strategic planning there.
Not to mention the entire rest of my pile of shame that I will never get through in my lifetime. Not to mention any of that, but
mate, I totally understand how you feel.
We can all relate.
The same, I think, like that. Yeah, all very much collectors, and probably wanting to paint things and complete stuff that we've bought, but
yes,
it's all in that sort of list of scheduling that you want to get to at some point. Now,
one day, right?
Yeah, one day.
This is the one of the highlights as well. This battle report.
Yeah, because I totally forgot about this one, and now that my mate Paul is getting Bretonians, hopefully we can play this at some point, which would be really cool.
Well, let me just say about this. This is as a Bretonian player, this is a fascinating battle report, because firstly, Nigel Stillman's list is so interesting. Now, I believe that he was limited by the studio models they had painted. So he mentioned somewhere that he did want to take squires, but it's just a fascinating list, because this is Herohammer, right? This is 5th edition Herohammer, and this is so light on heroes. This list, it's like he's gone out of his way to have as like the smallest amount of heroes possible, which is bizarre in not only 5th edition Herohammer, but in Bretonians. I think it's quite bizarre. So look at the size of his army in comparison to Rick's.
It's crazy.
Finely tuned elite high elf army.
Yep.
And this is not like goblins fighting them. This is Bretonians, So
yeah, and I think he's still using the 4th edition high elf book as well.
Yep, yep.
And the bastards, they've got like all these different shields on the Shadow Warriors, because I just did all my shields with the fourth edition shield designs on it.
Yep,
Got
yep.
these really cool looking ones I've never seen before, so they must have swapped them out and changed them and made them always black with white crescent moon shapes and stars on them.
Yeah,
Cool.
I just feel like I've never seen those shields. I love high elves as well. So
Yeah,
when I first started playing, high elves was also an army that I played at the start. I never kind of got them all assembled into a full army, but I love the fourth edition era of high elves, and particularly like those Shadow Warriors models are just lovely.
yeah, beautiful.
And yeah, like just like that character I can see in the Phoenix Guard unit with the bow.
Yeah,
That one's just a little iconic one for me. And then that chariot's so good. I love the high elf models.
yeah, they're awesome. So whether he's using the fifth edition one or fourth edition, I don't know. But the bolt throwers will be like, they're 100 points each instead of 50.
I think this has got to
Oh,
be
that's right,
fourth
they're 50.
edition.
They're 50, aren't they? Yeah, sorry, they're 50.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
50,
so
50
100, yeah.
points. I think it's got to be fourth edition because this was like right around the time. I don't think, yeah, I think that there was only
They
a
only
few
the
army
box set
books out
out
by
from
this
the
stage.
Magic set.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
right. Yeah, you're right. So he wouldn't be getting all those extra rules that came later for all the high elves,
Yes,
um,
yes.
like city guard rules and that kind of thing.
But yeah, look, I just love, as I said, I love the style of these battle reports. Like just looking at these pages with that kind of scroll brown on the side and the green little maps and stuff, and the
Yep.
way they had their little icons and stuff, just brilliant. But yeah, as I said, it's just a very, it's a strange army
Hmm.
on both their sides. I feel like in some ways, but it's very interesting because these guys are experts in this game, and experts in the way they want to play it, I guess you would
Yep.
say.
Yep.
So really, really very cool insight, I think.
And I'm convinced that when they did all the photography, they've sort of squashed everything down into like a 3 by 3 space. So
Yes.
it doesn't look realistic in the sense that the depth perception
Yep.
is totally thrown
Yep.
out. They've done it obviously to put
100%.
everything into the photograph, so yeah, it looks a lot congested. Looks really congested in that picture
It
there.
does, yeah. Yeah, that one in particular, and it's just such a huge army, the Bretonians, and I
Yeah,
just feel like it's like he's gone out of his way to be as fair as possible, I guess maybe say, or like I don't know. He's like gone out of his way to not try and be dodgy. We'll say that much. That's what I love
I
about
think
Nigel.
Nigel's just cottoned on to saying, well, characters won't win you the battle, just more troops will. So he's just
Yeah,
gone out and just got all the miniatures he can afford and
that's it.
lavishly spend on a Pegasus and a bloody hero and everything on there and all this. Yeah, so
And also, I think, yeah, we've got to take that into account. I guess the high elf studio army would have been maybe a bit more extensive, so he would have had more choices. But I never really thought about it at the time. But yeah, I guess they're not just using their own army; they're choosing an army based on what's available and what's going to showcase the models they want to sell at the moment and all that kind of stuff. So lots of factors, I guess, go into the army selection. Let's just for a moment talk about Rick's tips there. I remember I snipped that out and I posted that on my Instagram because I loved it so
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
This is just iconic, classic from this era, right?
Well,
Oh
boiling
man,
tea, and you're not doing it properly if you can't see the mashed up tea down the bottom of your cup. So
they put it in there.
yep, it's apparently Tom Kirby's tip. So there you go.
I absolutely love that. Look at
But
these pictures, man, so good.
well, then those you would think that those men at arms would be just being torn to pieces now. You've got like a chariot like charging the flank. You've got the hero and the Pegasus from the front. The Shadow Warriors are coming through the forests.
Just ravaged. There's no hope for them.
It's-
Poor peasants. But that's what I love about the Bretonian army, right? Is that particularly like playing fifth edition rules, it's like you could really just kind of set up so that you just had all your peasants and like lines of bowmen and everything just in front of your knights, and you didn't care if they died and fled because their morale wouldn't affect the knights.
yeah,
So it was kind of fine anyway, if they were running off. Because then it was usually they were running off, and then there was a position opened that you could now charge into, so they'd kind of serve their purpose, I guess. Um, but yeah, interesting. They're interesting play style, I think, Bretonians.
yeah. I would have loved to have seen these guys play it out on the table. That'd be just amazing.
Wouldn't that have been amazing?
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And again, this is like something that I love about White Dwarf is just seeing this insight. Like I would just every time there was like a photo like this one on the page right here, where you get to see like the background of the studio and stuff like that. I'd always be looking for thing, what's going on there? Like that, this is like the HQ. Like it looks so cool and very good. Look, they drew.
Yeah, and the
Eight and
thing I
eight.
love about it is that they don't use movement trays. So they
So
have to
good.
move individual models in, like with cavalry is not so bad, but all the foot troops you're going to move them individually, which I love. I love all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
on the table.
I never thought about that they don't use movement. I've never thought
Yeah,
about that before.
every single pick I've
Now
ever
I'm
seen.
thinking about it. That's crazy.
Because when I joined the studio, the first thing they
Yep.
asked me to do is make movement trays. So I don't know whether they've ever used movement trays up until that point, and it was such a wild concept because, I think we used the movement trays from the box set from the fourth edition. You had like move. I think fifth edition had them as well.
I remember there was a pack you would get from Games Workshop, and it came with
Right.
those green movement trays, and there was like a larger one and a smaller one on a sprue,
Yep.
and they're the ones that I used to use those ones. And then if your unit was bigger or smaller than that, you were screwed. You had to
That's it.
you had to have them hanging off the end at the back. You had like two extra ranks where they just weren't on a movement tray, and then we started to make our own after that. But man, look at that. Alrighty.
All right, here we go, mate. So yeah, we're just at the tail end of this battle report now between Rick
Yep.
and Nigel, using all these beautiful looking models in the studio and the terrain and everything. Looks wonderful.
Absolutely fantastic.
Then we get to all the sales bit, mate. So
The classic end of every White Dwarf,
you can
the mail order part.
so the box game at that point is $140 in Australia.
They were the good old days, right?
Yeah, and the Magic set was well, it's still a lot of money. I mean, it was still
It is.
cash back then too.
This is what people say, honestly. They're like, it's so much more expensive now. Okay, it is more expensive now. I understand that. But I mean, when I was 15, then this is 20 years ago, I was still, we'd pay $15 for two metal miniatures in a blister, it's still pricey.
Yep, sure is, mate. That's inflation for you. So,
And of course, the mail order form. Look,
oh
Snotling
yeah, the
Pump
mail
Wagon
form. These are things
example.
that are still around, with it? Because I always laugh about them. I never did one. I think I did. No, actually, I did one. I did. Yeah, I did once from Game Shows of Sydney. I actually did an order with a friend of mine, and we must have used this system because we didn't have the internet then. So,
I don't think that I ever have ordered anything from mail order prior to the website. I don't think. I
wow,
don't remember a time.
Snotling pump wagons were $32.95 then.
Two of them. I mean, it was all metal, like it was a chunky metal
Yeah.
miniature, I guess.
But there's not a there's like it's fairly small like compared to like a I don't know.
Maybe that's just a made up price because I'm just looking over here and the Vansar gang with 8 gangers is $34.
Right. Okay. Well,
Seems a
it's
bit
just
a
based on
bit
the weight
much.
and all that kind of thing. But yeah, of course they had to get everything. They had to send everything over to Australia from the UK
Yeah,
because they didn't produce them in Australia.
exactly.
So
I love these pages, and I loved it when they had these pages as well in the back of the army books. I
yes.
don't know why. Something about it,
Yep.
again, it's incredibly nostalgic to me. And I just love the idea of just seeing the unpainted kind of, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but I love it.
Yeah, I specifically collected the army books with the catalog pages in the back. I didn't want the ones with
Yes.
the army pages because I really like the catalog ones, and that way you can sort of circle off the stuff you've got and
I
go through
love it. Yeah.
sections, and it's got all the miniatures detailed in the books.
I don't know. Like, I'll still, like, if I pull out, like, these old army books, like, if I pull out, like, say, my fourth edition High Elf Army book or the Empire one or whatever from that particular era, I will still, like, one of my favorite parts is looking at these parts of the book, the catalog parts. I don't know. They're not painted or anything. It's something about it. I just love it.
Yep, no, it's very
And
cool.
this is all the cool Bretonnian models as well we're looking at.
Yes. I think they would have given them black wash. I think they just black washed them.
Definitely, yeah, something like that. Because as you know, if you ever try to take a photo of a miniature when it's just metal, it's or plastic, it's quite difficult without a bit of wash on there.
Indeed. Indeed, mate.
But yeah, that is I love the way they end with some nice catalog pages. They've got the images from the battle report. Two of my favorite fantasy armies from that era, models wise, and just everything about them. Like, look at that hero riding Pegasus. That was gone not long after this, I guess. I didn't really don't remember that one too much.
That's a brilliant figure, that.
It's so good. Look at the actual Pegasus itself is really, really lovely. Like the sculpt of it, I think. That was Trish, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Trish Morrison and Jez Goodwin. So yeah, they did. Yeah, that and Eltharion and the Griffin is just amazing.
I love Eltharion as well. What a brilliant model. I think I saw you painted that one. I remember I saw that one, a post by you. You painted that one, yeah? Or for your army?
Yeah, for my
army. Yeah, I love that model. Like, it's a great centerpiece.
It is, mate. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I actually prefer that than Prince Emmerich. I think it has just more nostalgic value to it.
I agree. I think that I like that. I like that the mid-range monster that a lot of armies had, as opposed to the big one. Yeah. I just felt like it kind of like fit in more nicely with everything else. I did have Emmerich. I don't know what happened to that model, but I never had the Pegasus. Unfortunately, I was always a bit jealous of that one when I saw that around.
Yeah, it's a really
look. They've even put the little halfling chef just on the stairs there, just like he's just popped out just to wave them along. It's just. There are so many like funny little touches, I guess, about this image. And it's like someone came up with this and they were like, we need to do a bunch of battle scenes. And this was one of them. We're going to have these carts pulling this stuff and going to have a big block of knights in the front and some Kislev horse archers. And we'll have some orcs watching them. I love it. I love the way they've got like these orcs are watching them from like secretly, and they've got their banner still there, like waving it. Just amazing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, Alex. Well, I'm really glad to have gone through this issue of White Dwarf 204 with you, mate, today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I love talking about this one. It's my favorite.
And I'm really happy that it's still on your coffee table, mate. So people, you can spring it on people when they come over and say, hey,
you've got to.
let's go back to 1990. Let's go back to, what was it, 1996?
I think it was, 1996. December 1996, I guess.
That makes sense because it was their Christmas release, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I remember I got at that was the Christmas that I actually got the 5th edition box set. And it was my first big box from Games Workshop, and so that's why it's all connected. This White Dwarf at the time just connected to my real kind of entry hard into the hobby with hobby an actual big box set.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, but no, it was a pleasure talking to you. As I said, I love talking about this kind of stuff, and to talk to someone else that is also into it is always just a lot of fun.
Mate, it's been my pleasure, and thank you very much again. You were worried about coughing, mate. I've got the rough voice now, so I'm not at the moment.
My voice held up. That was okay.
It did. You did well, mate. So okay, well, thanks again, Alex, for that, and we'll
no worries.
Put some links in the show notes for your YouTube site.
Yeah,
at myself, and mate, until next time, take care and enjoy your hobby.
You too. Have a good one, and I'll be keeping up with all the latest posts on your armies. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.